Well, it's time on the programme now for our focus report, and today we are heading to Rwanda. During the genocide 24 years ago, thousands of Tutsi women were raped. Some became pregnant and then carried their children to full term. For these women, past and present are intertwined. And over 2 decades later, our reporters have gone to meet several of those women who are trying to raise their families happily despite the legacy of that abuse.
My story begins in 1994, during the genocide against the Tutsis.
Her name is Jocelyn. She's 23. She was born just a few months after the end of the genocide, a child of the rape of her mother, a weapon of war that was used on a massive scale. At least 250,000 Tutsi women were raped in the course of 100 days.
After the rape, my mother sought to overcome her tragedy, but she continued to be persecuted because she had been raped. It took her a while to realize that she was pregnant with me. My mother took medicines to try and abort me, but unfortunately I, the fetus, resisted. Finally, my mother delivered me to the world. She had hidden her pregnancy for a long time because she felt ashamed. When I was born, my mother didn't love me very much.
Her mother was then just 20 years old. Her entire family had been wiped out. She now had sole responsibility for bringing up her child, without a job and without any assistance.
It took me a long time to start to love my daughter. We went through some very difficult moments. I think my story is different from that of others. In the village where I lived at the time of the genocide, the place where I was raped, men killed my little sister. And the man who raped me is the same man who raped and killed my big sister. My daughter told me that she wasn't to blame for her birth, that she wasn't responsible for the rape, that I couldn't hate her. I tried to tell her that I tried to have an abortion. It took time for us to grow, to love each other. But eventually, she forgave me. We forgave each other.
The victims of rape were ostracized by their own communities and faced constant discrimination. 65% of them contracted AIDS. Their children were outcasts, and because they had no income, received no education. Some 100 women were raped in this village in the south of Rwanda, then buried in shame and silence.
I thought I was the only one to have had a child from rape, but there were others too. Even though we were survivors of the genocide, the other survivors regarded us as Interahamwe, as Hutu executioners, because we had given birth to their children.
We were discriminated against. When I was at college, the principal came to see us in class, and this is what he said to us: the children of rape. When I see you like this, I see terrorists. The terrorists of Osama bin Laden. That wounded me and continues to wound me to this day.
For our part, we saw our children as animals, not as human beings. But one day, we decided to do things differently, to stop clinging onto our grief and to fight together as a team.
To fight the taboo about the horror by giving free rein to their voices. The state didn't immediately take responsibility for the women, but NGOs took up the challenge, like this one called Never Again. Marie-José is a psychologist. She's been going to the village for many years to listen to the women and their children.
After the genocide, the state didn't take care of these women. These girls were raped while they were still children. They weren't married, so they weren't considered widows. Even if they lost their parents, they weren't considered orphans, because they were now mothers with children. They were told, you're not orphans, you're not widows, you're something else.
Thanks to Never Again, Jocelyn has been able to go back to her old school. Here, Hutus and Tutsis are studying together. Some of them are orphans. Others have only known their parents in prison.
Genocide.
All of them were born after the horror.
They don't understand how people can kill each other, how some people can just kill other people, how people who live together in the same society in a positive way could become enemies.
And yet the children in this classroom are the living proof that it did happen. But if they are the evidence of the horror that seized Rwanda, they are also this country's hope that whatever happened in the past, history need not repeat itself.